It was supposed to be just another day in court, routine motions, evidence debates, and legal back and forth. But then Jay-Z walked in. Alone. No security, no entourage, not even Beyoncé. Just a man with something to say. And everyone stopped breathing. This wasn't a scheduled appearance. His name wasn't on the witness list. Even Diddy didn't see it coming. But what happened next flipped the courtroom upside down. Because when Jay-Z took the stand, he didn't come to defend Diddy. He came to expose everything. The silence that followed his first words, that wasn't just tension, that was fear. Because when one of the most powerful names in music breaks his silence in a federal courtroom, you know it's about to get ugly. But this wasn't just about friendship, fame, or business deals gone wrong. This was about legacy, secrets, and the one sentence Jay-Z said that left even the judge stunned. And it all started with 6 chilling words. I'm not taking the fall for you. The courtroom had just settled into a familiar rhythm, prosecutors flipping through files, defense attorneys pretending to be bored, and then the doors opened. Not quietly, not discreetly, deliberately. Jay-Z walked in like he owned the moment. Midnight Navy suit, no smile, no wave, no Rock Nation crew, no cameras in tow. Just him. A global icon stepping into a federal courtroom like a man with unfinished business. People gasped. Journalists froze mid-sentence. One dropped her pen. Even the judge tilted her head. Did he? He didn't blink. Just stared, like a ghost from his past had come to collect. The room didn't know what to do. Jay-Z wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not under oath. And then it hit everyone at once. He had tried to keep his testimony sealed, private, off the record. But the court said no. Full transparency. So now, with nowhere left to hide, Jay-Z was about to deliver the performance of his life. Not with rhymes, not with headlines, with the truth. He raised his hand, took the oath. And the room leaned in like it was listening to a track they were never supposed to hear. He didn't start with a denial. He didn't flinch, posture, or pretend. Jay-Z sat straight, looked the courtroom in the eye, and said what no one expected. I want to make it clear. Silence ain't an option no more. From the second those words left his mouth, the entire courtroom shifted. The press leaned in, lawyers stopped moving. Diddy didn't blink. Everyone knew this wasn't damage control. This was something else. Jay-Z admitted what most celebrities would never dare. Yes, he had been to Diddy's events. Yes, he was invited. Yes, he showed up. But then he said the part that no one was ready for. What I saw and what I was told were 2 very different realities. His voice was calm, but every sentence landed like a quiet explosion. He spoke of NDAs, confiscated phones, back rooms with thick curtains. He never went into those rooms, he said. Never signed anything. But he knew. I knew something wasn't right. That moment changed everything. This wasn't Jay-Z denying involvement. This was Jay-Z admitting proximity to something dark and walking away. Then he described one night in 2015, a party in Miami for Christian Combs' birthday. He recalled masks, strange energy, a man in leather and heels who walked by looking terrified. People laughed, he said. I didn't. That man looked scared. Jay-Z said he left early that night, called a driver himself, refused to wait for the car service. I didn't want my name attached to whatever that was. Then the prosecution dropped the bomb, a blurry but verified photo. Jay-Z, Diddy, LeBron James, Beyoncé. And in the middle of the room, a man in a latex mask kneeling on a velvet pillow. Jay-Z didn't speak at first, then calmly. I was told it was performance art. I didn't laugh. I didn't stay. And then he turned to Diddy. You knew people trusted you. You used that. For the first time, Diddy's jaw dropped. But the real hit came next. Jay-Z revealed a private conversation from 2018 just as rumors of investigations were swirling. Diddy had called him, trying to get ahead of something. They're coming for me, he said. You gotta be careful who you stand next to. Jay-Z asked him straight up, did you do something I can't come back from? Diddy's reply, it's just parties, Jay. Just experiences. Nobody gets hurt. Unless they want to. Jay-Z's voice cracked just slightly. That was the last real conversation we had. He looked at the courtroom, his voice steady again. I stopped answering his calls after that. As the courtroom sat in stunned silence, Jay-Z leaned forward and shifted the conversation. Not to protect his brand, but to defend the people who never asked to be part of this mess. I need to speak about my family, he said, his voice low but firm. Because when my name gets dragged, so does theirs. Jurors leaned in. Reporters stopped typing. Even Diddy, who had spent most of the morning scribbling notes, looked up. Jay-Z spoke about his daughter, Blue Ivy, how she's old enough now to read headlines. How one day she came to him and asked, "What's a freak off?" He paused just for a moment, but the weight of that sentence hit like a freight train. That's not something a father should ever have to explain, he said. Then he described what happened after the first lawsuit named him. Paparazzi outside their home, reporters crowding around Blue's school, speculations snowballing into chaos, turning his life into a tabloid war zone. And then he dropped the receipts, literally. One of the key accusations had placed him and Beyoncé at a Miami party in 2015, one allegedly tied to Diddy's darkest secrets. But Jay-Z pulled out a folder and calmly laid it out. Flight records, hotel receipts, time-stamped videos, and eyewitness accounts. On that night, we were in Paris, he said. It was our anniversary. We stayed at Hotel Plaza Athénée. The prosecution reviewed the documents. The judge asked the clerk to confirm the timeline. Everything checked out. Jay-Z had been telling the truth. But he didn't stop there. He turned his attention to something bigger, the culture of clickbait and gossip that allowed a lie to snowball into a firestorm. When did accusation become conviction? He asked. When did we stop demanding proof? He made it clear this wasn't just about him. It was about the damage done to everyone tied to his name. I've spent decades building something clean, something that lifts our community, and in a single headline, that gets smeared with no evidence. He mentioned Beyoncé again, but not as a superstar. As a mother, a woman who had nothing to do with these accusations and yet was dragged through the mud because of proximity. She stood by me through everything, he said. But this was different. This wasn't business drama. This was a nuclear bomb dropped on our family, and the worst part? It was all based on a lie. Then he addressed another major rumor. The infamous party allegedly held at Gloria Estefan's mansion. Witnesses had claimed he was there during one of Diddy's so-called freak-offs. But Jay-Z laid out a second timeline, backed by security logs, transportation records, and event footage, proving he was in Los Angeles that night, hosting a charity event for the Sean Carter Foundation. Here's the guest list, here's my speech, here's a photo with the mayor. On screen, the court clerk showed the building's security footage, logging Jay-Z's entrance and exit down to the minute. But the part that struck the deepest wasn't the documents. It was his breakdown of how rumors start. You don't need a lie to be loud, he said. You just need it to be repeated. He showed how his name had been dragged into this mess, not by eyewitnesses, but by assumption. I once went to a brunch, and now I'm supposedly complicit in everything this man's accused of? The court watched as he laid it out. The headlines, the tweets, the articles repeating false claims without a single fact check or phone call for comment. He looked directly at the prosecution. If you're going to drag a man into a trial this big, you better have more than gossip and guesses. Just when it seemed like Jay-Z had laid it all out, proof, context, emotion, he took a sharp left turn into the most chaotic part of the public backlash. The internet. The conspiracy theories. The bizarre dark corners of Reddit and TikTok that had turned his name into a symbol of something sinister. I've been called a lot of things in this industry, he said, almost wearily, but Illuminati puppet, master manipulator, murderer by association, that's a new one. He wasn't exaggerating. Jay-Z pulled out printouts, Reddit threads with thousands of upvotes, TikTok videos with millions of views, all speculating that he was tied to the deaths of Aaliyah, Michael Jackson, even Tupac. That he paid people off to keep silent about Diddy's freak-offs. None of it backed by a shred of evidence, just speculation layered with ominous music and edited screenshots. They say where there's smoke, there's fire, he said. But sometimes the smoke is just fog machines and YouTube edits. The courtroom sat still as he read aloud some of the claims. Rumors that he belonged to a secret cabal, that Beyoncé was part of the cover-up, that he orchestrated scandals behind the scenes to maintain power. He held up one particularly viral post, an elaborate theory connecting him, Diddy, and Epstein. "This is what passes for journalism now," he said, looking out over a sea of stunned faces. But then he surprised everyone. He admitted something. "I didn't speak up sooner because I thought the truth would be obvious," he said. "But maybe I underestimated how fast lies travel when they come with good production value and scary background music." It was a rare moment of vulnerability, an acknowledgement that maybe his silence meant to avoid the fire had only fed it. He wasn't just defending his innocence anymore. He was defending the concept of truth itself. And then he closed his testimony with a sentence that stopped everyone cold. "I'm not asking you to like me," he said, his voice steady but sharp. "I'm asking you to listen, to think, to demand proof. Because if we don't draw the line here, today, then none of us are safe from what comes next." He leaned back in the chair. The room didn't move. For the first time in the entire trial, the whisper stopped. Jay-Z had just redrawn the battle lines. And he didn't do it with lawyers or press releases. He did it with facts and fire. As Jay-Z's direct testimony wrapped and the courtroom tried to regain its footing, the lead prosecutor stood up. His reputation had preceded him, aggressive, methodical, known for rattling even the most composed celebrities. He adjusted his glasses, paced slowly, and then locked eyes with Jay-Z. The tension was thick. This wasn't about truth anymore. It was about pressure. "Mr. Carter," he began, voice cool but pointed, "you say you were never at Gloria Estefan's house. You provided logs, photographs, timestamps. It's all very thorough." Jay-Z nodded slightly. "Because it's the truth," he said, keeping his tone even. "But," the prosecutor continued, taking a step closer, "you have, by your own admission, attended Diddy-hosted events, brunches, fundraisers, industry parties. You were there." Jay-Z didn't flinch. "Yes, public events, industry events, nothing like what's being described in this courtroom." His voice didn't rise. He let the words sit exactly where they landed. The prosecutor leaned in. "Did you ever witness anything inappropriate at those events?" For a second, Jay-Z hesitated. The room held its breath. "Not for long," he finally said. "But enough for everyone to notice?" The prosecutor prodded. Jay-Z shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "I saw celebrities networking, music, champagne, the usual." He paused. "And you never saw Cassie Ventura in distress? Never saw anything that made you uncomfortable?" Jay-Z's jaw tightened. "Cassie was often there. She was Diddy's partner. But no, I never saw her in distress, and I certainly never saw the things she's now described." The prosecutor didn't blink. "So you're saying you were completely blindsided?" "I'm saying I didn't see it," Jay-Z said, now more directly. "And if I had, I wouldn't have stayed quiet." Then came the low blow. The prosecutor smiled faintly. "That's what Russell Simmons said too." The courtroom gasped. Jay-Z blinked, his poker face slipping for just a second. "Objection," his attorney snapped. The judge sustained it, but the implication had already landed like a shot in the dark. The strategy was clear now. Paint Jay-Z as part of a pattern. Proximity equals guilt. But Jay-Z didn't crack. The prosecutor pressed further, suggesting that Jay-Z's status gave him access to more than music deals, that maybe he saw more than he admitted. But, without evidence, it was all strategy, sharp words, and empty air. Jay-Z's final response cut through the courtroom like a knife. "I'm not here to protect Diddy," he said. "I'm here to protect my name. And if I was part of that world, if I even suspected it, I wouldn't be testifying. I'd be on trial." And with that, he stepped down from the witness stand, adjusted his jacket, didn't look back. Beyoncé wasn't there, but her absence was felt in every glance. He walked out the side door, surrounded by security. And the courtroom? It buzzed, whispered, seethed. Headlines were already being written. Jay-Z under fire. Jay-Z breaks. Jay-Z fights back. But in the end, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a testimony, it was a turning point. The moment Jay-Z left the stand, the courtroom didn't exhale. It cracked wide open. Jurors scribbled furiously, eyebrows furrowed. One young juror kept staring at the now empty witness chair, as if the ghost of Jay-Z's words was still sitting in it. An alternate juror bit his pen cap and said nothing. In the gallery, a former bad boy intern wiped away tears caught by the court sketch artist mid-swipe. Later, she would tell a reporter, "He talked like he didn't know. But we saw him at those events. Maybe he didn't see what we saw, or maybe he just looked away." Cassie Ventura sat unmoved at the prosecution table. She didn't flinch during Jay-Z's testimony, but when he mentioned Blue Ivy, his daughter asking about a freak-off, Cassie looked up. Not with sympathy, not with anger, with something colder, curiosity. As if wondering, is he protecting his family, or just himself? Diddy, usually stoic, began to unravel. His fingers tapped faster, his eyes darted. Jay-Z's words weren't just a blow, they were a signal. The walls were closing in and the lifeboats were limited. His oldest ally had just drawn a clear line in the sand and stepped across it. Outside, the judge called a short recess. The hallway exploded, voices clashed. Some praised Jay-Z for coming clean, for showing receipts, for protecting his family. Others weren't buying it. "He's just saving face," someone said. "He's been part of that system for years." The truth sat somewhere in between. Nobody really knew. But everybody had an opinion. Back at Roc Nation HQ, the air was thick. Jay-Z's legal team released a single, tightly worded statement. "Mr. Carter testified truthfully and courageously. We stand by his integrity." That didn't stop the storm. Within 12 hours, every major outlet from TMZ to the New York Times had picked apart his testimony frame by frame. Some hailed it as honest, others called it strategic survival. Beyoncé trended globally for nearly 2 days. Her publicist declined all requests for comment. Fans were split. Some rallied behind her. She had nothing to do with this. Others whispered about what she might have known. It didn't matter. The court of public opinion was in session. And then came 50 Cent. He posted a photo of Jay-Z on the stand with a caption that lit the internet on fire. "Nice performance, but we ain't forgot them brunches, my guy." It went viral instantly. Millions of views, thousands of comments, memes, think pieces, threads. The shade was loud and the industry was listening. Other celebrities started chiming in, quietly, indirectly. Alicia Keys reposted a quote about truth cutting through silence. Questlove dropped a string of cryptic emojis. Oprah posted a vague message about building from ashes. No one said Jay-Z's name, but no one had to. Behind the scenes, the prosecution regrouped. Jay-Z hadn't broken their case, but he'd bent to the narrative. He humanized himself. He built distance. He stirred doubt. And in doing so, he unintentionally exposed a larger issue, the music industry's long-standing culture of plausible deniability. The district attorney's office released a short, neutral statement. "While Mr. Carter's testimony was significant, our investigation continues. It extends beyond any one individual." Translation: this isn't over. The moment Jay-Z stepped off the stand, the courtroom didn't just react, it ruptured. Cassie didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't move. But as Jay-Z mentioned Blue Ivy and the word freak off hit the air, her eyes flicked up for the first time in an hour. Not with sympathy, not with recognition, but with something harder. Calculation, like she was redoing the math. The spectators buzzed. One former bad boy intern whispered, "That's the most honest man we've seen in that chair," while another muttered, "Nah." That was a masterclass in saving face. Outside, the temperature shifted from courtroom drama to cultural war zone. Within 15 minutes, the clip of Jay-Z's line, "If I even suspected it, I wouldn't be testifying." I'd be on trial and was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, CNN, Shade Room, Reddit lit up like wildfire. Then 50 Cent posted, A screenshot of Jay-Z on the stand. No caption at first, just a single eye roll emoji. Then, an hour later, nice performance, but we ain't forgot them brunches, my guy. It hit 10 million views by midnight. That opened the floodgates. Alicia Keys posted a cryptic quote in white text on a black background. Sometimes the loudest truth is silence, sometimes not. No hashtags, no explanation. Questlove followed with 3 emojis. Then Oprah posted an old photo of Maya Angelou with the caption, "There's a line between truth and reputation, and one doesn't always protect the other." No one said Jay-Z's name, but no one had to. Back at Rock Nation, the team was split. Some called his testimony necessary. Others called it too little, too late. A quiet internal memo went out that afternoon. Avoid direct media commentary. Align messaging with legal counsel. This is not a press cycle. It's a minefield. The DA's office broke their silence with a short, clinical press release. While Mr. Carter's testimony was significant, our investigation continues. It extends beyond any one individual. Translation: he didn't derail the case. He just widened the scope. Back in the courtroom, the energy had shifted. Prosecutors reviewed new witness lists. Journalists rearranged cover stories. And Diddy? He kept scribbling into a yellow legal pad. Except now, he was underlining names. One juror, caught by a hot mic during recess, summed it up best. That wasn't a testimony. That was a torch thrown into the industry. And it was still burning. Jay-Z may have walked out of that courtroom untouched, but something fundamental had changed. He had survived the testimony, but this was no longer just about his name, or even Diddy's. The court, the media, the public, everyone was judging more than one man. Because when someone of Jay-Z's stature breaks the code of silence, it doesn't just put one friendship on trial, it puts an entire era on the stand. The parties, the NDAs, the gatekeepers who looked away, the power structures that protected the few while silencing the many. One legal analyst said it plainly on cable news that night. This isn't just about Diddy. It's about the era of silence, power, and protection. And Jay-Z's testimony just broke the seal. The questions now hung heavier than ever. Who else knew? Who else stayed quiet? And if this is only the beginning, what happens when someone with even more to lose decides to speak? Because what comes next doesn't just threaten careers, it could shake the entire industry. And for the first time in decades, the music world isn't writing a story about fame. It's writing a eulogy for the system that made it untouchable.